I did invite Scott, but he says, I'll think. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to what I believe is episode 16 of the Naff Report. This evening, I am very excited to be joined by our guest. This is a conversation I've been really looking forward to. So without further ado, I would like to introduce two members of Millbury's Board of Selectmen, the first of which is John Adams. Mr. Adams, welcome to the program. And we also have the recent winner of Millbury's Best Town Official and Millbury's Best TV Personality, so I sort of have a bone to pick with you, Ms. Mary Krumsiek.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting us.
So tonight, sort of wanted to get a pulse of where we are in town. Both of you, I think, have a really unique voice on the board, so I was looking forward to sort of picking your brains on where we're at. So if we can, I would like to start with sort of a state of the union, if you will, a state of the town from both of your perspectives. John, would you like to start?
Sure. I mean, I look at it from a fiscally position a lot of times.
Yeah.
And you know, as you know, the previous administration was very conservative, thus giving us a great bond rating,
Right.
putting us in a great position. But with that, there was not a lot of capital expenditures laid out. And thus, here we are today in a good, stable position, but required to make some big spending decisions going forward. And the number one that I feel is roads, because everybody uses them.
Right.
And it will affect everybody. So,
Absolutely.
I mean, I think the town's in great shape. We have no problems different than any other town.
That's good to know. So the sky is not falling.
No, it's
Okay.
not, it's not falling. Not
Good.
at all.
Ms. Krumsiek.
And I'm almost the same. Hopefully we're on the upslope.
Good.
We hired a bunch of new employees, department heads. If we can tackle the roads, then I think we're all good to go.
Now, the roads obviously get a lot of coverage both on social media, in the Chronicle, and we talk about it here on the program. So that it's obviously clear to a lot of folks that's probably the top priority. But then we also hear of the demand for a new public safety complex. There's talk of potentially addressing the athletic fields. Shaw School at some point will get voted on whether we're going to have a new Shaw School. So from your perspective, roads obviously being the top priority, what do you think might be the other 1, 2, or 3 other priorities we might have to be facing pretty soon?
Well, depending on timing,
Yeah.
If it comes to fruition, it's going to be the school, because we have no choice.
Right.
If they're covering 38% of the cost of the school,
Right.
and they say you've got to do it in a year, guess what we're doing in a year? It's inevitable, and it's just the nature of the beast. We voted, the town voted for the feasibility study, and here we are. And in a good conscience, nobody can really say no, I don't think.
Right, and the one thing of feedback I heard about the school is, well, it's not that old of a school. Do we really need a new school already? But we had Chris Wilbur, a member of the school committee, on the program. He talked about there's issues like there's spots in the school where there's water seeping through the floor. You know,
Right.
so like just the structure of the building isn't sound. And obviously the capacity of that school we've quickly outgrown. So then sort of my follow-up question to that is, what is going to be needed financially to take care of the roads and potentially take care of Shaw School? What does that roadmap look like for?
It's a roadmap of debt exclusions.
Well, there is also that other
That evil
elephant.
override.
No, because now that marijuana is legalized in the state, and the state's working on guidelines, Millbury was a yes town.
Right.
So, and inevitably it will be coming.
And we get to claim X amount of the
Right.
sales tax. Is that
Right,
correct?
and we can add up to 3% on
3%?
top of the state. I'm
Okay.
sure we can get some host agreements.
Okay.
So my idea is to take that money and
Mm-hmm.
split it, kind of use the manager's coffee cans, though I don't like that coffee can thing.
Okay.
And split that take and put it in the roads, a school, and a public safety building.
So sort of have it earmarked for very
Right,
specific
and
projects.
that's something we can do.
Yeah, okay. That makes a lot of sense to me. Now, I also heard that there is, I don't know if it's set in stone, and I don't know if it can be officially announced yet, but is it true that there is a plan for a dispensary, a marijuana dispensary in town?
We already are in the
Yes.
process with a medical one.
Okay.
And then they have to come in front of us if they want to change it to retail.
Okay,
My guess is that, yes, it will be changed to retail.
okay. I wouldn't be surprised if that is the case either. Do we have an idea of where that location
It's
might
on
be?
not the dead end of 146, the old 146.
It's not a bad spot.
No, it's actually
A
not.
dispensary, yeah.
No,
I've been doing a lot of homework on dispensaries and stuff.
And do we have so 3% sounds great, but do we have an idea of what that might mean for actual dollars?
Well, that's just added on to the sales tax,
Yeah.
which we don't know if what we're going to get kicked back from the
Gotcha.
state.
Okay.
And then that would be like a local tax, like the meals tax
Right.
is
But the
0.75.
thinking is that might be somewhat substantial enough to make a meaningful contribution to the
Right.
costs of new roads, potentially a new school.
it could potentially be around $1 million.
Annually?
Yes.
See, that is bigger than I was thinking. So that's encouraging.
It's got the potential. I
Got
mean,
the potential. Okay.
And it's not sad, but it's kind of ironic. That's going to be a big
yeah,
windfall.
sure.
Well, it was kind of like the mall,
Sure.
that was our big windfall.
But and essentially, it's well, maybe I shouldn't call it a sin tax, but it's sort of like the tax on cigarettes.
Right.
Governments make a lot of money on tobacco sales, and I suppose if there is the legal transactions of marijuana happening in town, why not capture what we can legally capture? At least that was my perspective.
That's mine, too.
Do you get the sense that there's a likelihood we'll be able to get that through and be able to depend on that source of revenue?
I would
think so.
I'm going to guess you're going to have more than one.
Okay.
And my whole thing is, because we're zoned, the medical, I would assume, I'm guessing now that we can do the zoning the same as the medical,
Okay.
and that's on the 146 corridor.
Yeah. Great.
You know,
And it's sort of
I've heard rumors that a cultivator wants to come into town. I
Okay.
don't know how true
Interesting.
that is. And that's an enclosed building, so it's not.
I have some people in mind who would be very excited to hear that. Won't
And
name
you-
names on this program, though, folks.
You're allowed 20% of your liquor store establishments.
Right.
So you could have.
Oh, okay.
So if you've got 10 liquor stores, you can have 3
Yeah.
dispensaries.
Okay. Interesting. So with debt exclusions, proceeds from marijuana sales, that is sort of what our focus to growing the revenue of the town. Well, the available funding, I should say, of the town.
And the town manager is pretty focused on some of this stuff. And as if anybody watches the Board of Selectmen meetings, he talks about coffee cans. And I've been trying to convince him that he can use big boy words like stabilization
Right.
funds. Because that's really what he's talking
Right.
about. He's talking about stabilization
Right.
funds. And so you set up this, and if we design it right, we could take the revenue, say 3% if it gets up that high, and just put it directly towards stabilization funds, possibly for the school or the roads,
Okay.
and supplement those needs that way.
Excellent. So roads obviously being the popular issue, would you agree probably Shaw is the next big important issue?
Yes.
Yes, I mean they haven't come back with the study, and
Right.
they're still in the middle of it, but
Right.
there's still a possibility they could come back with repairs for that.
I would, except for the
Highly.
groundwater.
You
like,
mean instead of a new school.
Instead of a complete tear down. I mean, I was told that they do promote rehabs, but I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
Sometimes that could cost more than a complete new school.
Right.
So it appears that we have a pretty clear idea of what these priorities are, and we have a pretty clear idea of how we're going to fund these. Do you foresee any obstacles other than funding to actually get the things the people of the town have been clamoring for? Is it a political obstacle of not having potentially votes at town hall? Is it an organizational obstacle? Do we have the right talent to get these things done? Sort of walk me through what other obstacles we might be on the lookout for.
It depends on town meeting.
Town meeting is-
It depends who shows up on town meeting.
Who you pack the room with,
Right.
right? Yeah.
You know, school is, special interest groups
Right.
always pack their
Right.
town
And
meetings.
then, Mary, at the beginning of the program, you mentioned we've hired a lot of folks.
Right.
And when we had the town manager on the program, one of the last things we talked about before we ran out of time was sometimes he struggles with the ability to hire talented people because we might not be able to offer the same salary or benefits of a competing town who's hiring. Do you get the sense that that is an issue for us? Do we currently have the right people in place and the positions needed to get the certain initiatives done in town?
Well, my personal opinion
Sure, yeah.
would be I look for what should I say, the cheap way out or the inexpensive way. But when my son graduated from college, he couldn't get a job because
Right.
he didn't have experience. Well, how do you get experience?
Right.
You know, you're a biomed engineer.
Right.
And so I've always looked at it that why aren't we hiring these young people right out of college? You know, maybe offer them a smaller salary
Right.
and let them grow. Is it a bad thing? I don't know. Right?
Yeah, the reason I asked that, sort of a follow-up to the obstacles topic, is there was a lot of discussion around the hiring of the DPW director. I was of the mind that if you can get someone who's willing to do the job and has the experience to do it, that should be enough to say yes. But there were some folks who felt that there were particular, characteristics within the charter that we weren't necessarily following. From a philosophical point, is credentials on a piece of paper worth the same as experience?
No. And that's why our roads are in such disrepair, because we had somebody on paper.
If you have a DPW director that's very engineer based, they're working from the paper side all the time.
Right.
And the truth of the matter is, when you put a job out to bid, the contractor doing it is going to stamp their own plans.
Right.
So what are we really gaining by having a full-fledged PE on staff in the small town of Millbury?
Right.
And I think, and I looked at the charter 6 months before we hired this gentleman, and I told several people that were fairly high up in town politics and said, it says right here, or other disciplines.
Right.
It's right here.
It's that magic
what are we doing?
Word, or.
It's right there, and I prefer not having the PE.
Right.
I did right along.
Where my take on that was, if someone's done the job, they know how to do the job. And I did think this was sort of a distraction from really focusing on, will we actually get roads and the things we want built? A credential might be nice to have, but I was of the mind you shouldn't let that prevent you from getting the things you want done. Have you ever seen the movie No Country for Old Men? Fantastic. Folks at home tonight, go to Netflix or Amazon Prime and watch this movie. It's essentially this bounty hunter is after this satchel of money, and he runs across a bounty hunter that's protecting the guy who has the satchel. And the bounty hunter is going to kill this other bounty hunter. but the bounty hunter is protecting the guy with the satchel, has all these principles and rules that he follows. And the other guy who is after the satchel money pretty much follows his own rules. And he asked the guy, the other bounty hunter, essentially this: if the rules you followed got you to where you are, of what use were those rules? And I sort of think although it's great to have a charter in place, and if we want to follow it to the T, very black and white with no gray area, if that's the way we want to do it, I think you come to a place where our roads don't get built. You know what I'm saying?
Right, that's exactly what happened.
Right,
Exactly.
so if we're supposed to follow the charter in very black and white terms where we don't allow for gray area of or other, however it's phrased, in my mind, you're just going to come to a place where you're always falling short of what you're actually trying to do. You know, and maybe the charter has to be rewritten, maybe it has to be amendments, maybe.
That's what I know.
Yeah, so you know, I think sometimes we have to allow ourselves to live in the gray area to get the things we want to do, because at the end of the day, we're a municipality and we have to offer the service to the people of the town, from my perspective, you know?
Right.
So to that point, do you think changes to the charter
Yes,
should be coming?
Well, it's up for review
20.
in 20. So
2020?
probably next year they'll start with a committee, and yes, some of the charter has to be changed. When I first became a selectman, it all depends on how you read the charter or interpret the charter.
Right.
Was told to me over and over.
Right.
And I guess I interpret it different than, say, a town
Others,
manager
sure.
did, or another selectman. And I'm like, and that two-letter word "or" can change a whole bunch of things.
Right. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops. Right. Now, this is our first year of I believe it is a 3-year contract of our town manager. I know he had a formal review that got a lot of coverage in the press. I don't necessarily think we need to hash those things out again, but one thing I was curious to get you folks' takes on: what will it take, our town manager or any town manager, what will it take for them to successfully do their job for the town of Millbury? What should we be looking for our town manager to do in the months ahead and in the remainder of his current contract?
Well, I think he's doing a pretty good job. The one thing that he's working hard on is changing culture in town hall. As you know, our previous manager was from town.
Right.
He was extremely conservative, treated it like it was his own bank account almost. Right. So to veer anywhere off of that, you're going to get a lot of attention.
Sure.
And the other thing is, I think the town manager is trying very hard to really make a big difference and really make some changes, and I think it's taking a little bit of his focus away from the four walls of town hall.
Okay.
And I think I could see it changing now that he's realizing that he can't really bite off as much as he's got in his mouth now. And
okay. Interesting.
So I think he's doing, he's really starting to see, maybe I'm going a little too fast with some things.
Okay.
And maybe I need to pay attention to inside these four walls a little bit more.
I hear you.
So I think we're moving in that direction.
Is it important, or are we at the opportunity where we could use some change in culture?
It's happened.
It's happened already.
Is that a good thing?
We'll see. Only time will tell, right?
I'll tell you right now, I mean, the hires that I know of have been pretty good. I haven't spent much time with all of them, but the few that I have, I think were very good decisions, and I think they're really going to, an HR director, we've never had one.
Right.
And this gentleman's got a law degree, and not that I'm a big fan of law degrees, but
I'm with you on that.
But he's extremely well knowledged in the HR, and he's basically gonna print our roadmap.
Good.
And hopefully with the money we save on arbitrations and
Yeah.
all that, you know, he can save us
can-
there. We
yeah.
can put that in the new school.
Right. Ms. Krumsiek, curious to hear your thoughts on what it takes for a town manager to get the things done we need to get done, how to effectively do their job.
I think he's got to be more open-minded.
Okay.
I'm going to bring up the liquor license. It's going to
Sure.
be my cue in.
Yeah. Now, and this is
for the
so
Ace of Waters.
there was an idea that the Ace of Water Mansion, we could grow more revenue at the mansion if we got a liquor license.
Right.
And I've had the director of the mansion on, and we spoke a little bit about that, but I don't know all the details.
I think the only profitable way that mansion would make
Money on liquor sales.
would be to lease it out and then get a cut of that.
Okay.
Liquor licenses there's a lot of liability
Mm-hmm.
on that. Nobody did their homework. You know, they brought it up to the Board of Selectmen. It was a 4-1 vote. I spoke adamantly against it.
Friends disagree from time to time.
Because my feeling is we're putting the whole town of Millbury in jeopardy because the liquor license was applied for the town of Millbury. So
And this
something
is-
happens there, you as a taxpayer are the town of Millbury.
This is something you have a lot of professional experience
Yes.
outside the town of Millbury with. Do you think the potential to maybe make more money than if we leased out? Is
you
there a risk
ran it
reward
as
that we could
if
judge?
it was open every day of the week, absolutely.
Okay, which is not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
Right. So event by event.
I did my homework. You know, I called a few caterers that
Right.
pull one-day liquor licenses,
Mm-hmm.
and like one caterer, the most she ever made at a wedding was $300 after her expenses, paying
Okay.
her help, paying the one-day liquor license,
Okay.
insurance that everybody has to have.
Gotcha.
And it's stuff he's not letting go. I don't think the task force really, because he's putting it on their plate. And that he comes up with an idea and then just drops it and says,
Delegates to
Right.
somebody else.
you know, they have
Okay.
to get refrigerators. I mean,
Yeah.
you're dealing in liquor, you could have a locked cabinet.
Sure.
I mean, I think it's going to take away from the mansion.
I hear what you're saying. The overall sense I get from what you're saying is there's points where he should be more hands-on, but there are points where
Right,
maybe
and
he
that
needs to
kind
be
of
a little
changed. I don't think
hands-off.
Millbury's ready for that
Yeah.
yet. You know, do we want to be in a bar business?
right.
I mean, I sit on an MMA board with mayors and city councilmen,
Right.
and I asked every single person in the room, does your town have a liquor license? And
The
no,
answer is no.
no.
The question I've heard from others is we have roads to take care of, we have a school to take care of. Should we be in the event management business?
No.
Right.
And the state law requires a manager and assistant manager on duty at all times. So does the task force
Right.
fall under management, or are we going to have to hire an assistant? Or are we going to pay overtime to a manager?
All important,
You know,
all
that's-
important details to understand, for sure.
I'm praying that the ABCC denies them the license.
Okay.
And I'm not afraid to say it on air.
Well, it's like, I mean, I made the motion that we apply for the liquor license, and the board will revote whether we put it into use or not,
Gotcha.
based on what all the information and all the
collect,
procedures
yeah.
and policies that we put together. And as I can see, not that I've paid attention that closely to it, but I've heard nothing of policy, procedures, or redos of the mansion to supplement this. So,
Gotcha.
So as it's looking right now, even if they do give us a license, I don't know if it's going to fly.
My other take is, you know, everybody talks about economic development. So
Right.
say you get a hotel that wants to, or a chain restaurant that wants to come in.
Right.
Oh, we got none left because we gave
Right.
it, you know.
We only have X amount to give out anyway, right? That's a good point.
There's a bill on the floor, but it's probably not going to pass this year that every town will get to choose. You know, let the towns choose how many liquor licenses
That's
they want.
probably a bill I would support.
I support
Yeah.
100%. I told Joe McKenna that. too bad that it's probably going to take a couple of years for it
Probably.
to get through.
It's Massachusetts after all.
Yeah.
Switching gears just a little bit. Ms. Krumsiek, this is, I believe, your second term on the board.
Yes.
Mr. Adams, this is your first term, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
More or less.
More or less. Ish.
I had a 6 year.
Yeah,
A 6 month. I'm not.
correct.
6 month.
First 3-year term, we'll say.
Yeah.
Are there things you know now that you wish you had a better understanding of when you first got on the board?
Political posturing is
Yeah.
a term that I'm learning.
Well, because you come from the business world, you're an entrepreneur.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't come from the political realm at all.
No.
Was that an adjustment for you?
Oh, it still is. And you've probably witnessed some of it.
Yeah.
John has trouble with signing the line in the right spot.
I always used to sign the top line.
Right down there.
President. What am I down on the bottom line?
Right.
I'm 60.
That's like my pet. I tease him about that all the time.
It's funny, but is that a big is that a difficult transition to go from being the point decision maker to now you're on a committee of a board where you have to get a consensus?
Well, I don't mind it.
Yeah.
What bothers me is when people talk, but they're not going in a direction.
I hear you.
That frustrates me. And it's just noise.
Yeah, you
Right.
want to get things done.
I'm like,
yeah.
well, okay, that's a speed bump to me.
Right.
That's not a solution.
Right.
And things like that frustrate
I
me.
hear you. Ms. Krumsiek, what do you know now that you wish you
I
had
wish
a
I
better
knew
understanding
the
of?
charter better. That's kind of
Yeah.
the biggest thing. And I wish people would know the charter because I thought I was going to come in. I mean, I'll be honest, I ran on a dare.
Okay.
From my cable show. I used to film the meetings with Kevin, and I would sit there and say, oh my God, I could do so much better than these guys.
yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
God. And then I get dared to run. I never expected to win. But
did?
I always, I was my class president, I was president of my college dorm and all
Right.
that. So politics have always been in my blood. I'm more like not the quiet selectman, but
What?
I speak more like when I'm passionate about something.
Okay.
And I ran on, I was the voice of the people.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is I wish I knew the charter
charter.
before I ran.
Now, is there, from your perspectives, tell me about one thing maybe the voters or the residents of the town, one thing they should be more aware of, and then one thing maybe they should all be excited about.
They should
Wanna
bring
go?
I keep bringing up the charter. And I get very frustrated reading Facebook because there's a lot of times I can't respond to.
Right.
And I just want to say, you know what? Here's my finance book. Here's my charter. Read it, and then you'll understand where some decisions are being made
Right.
from. What to be excited about?
The charter,
Well, hopefully we'll have some roads done in the spring.
good.
I've got some meetings set up this week, and I'm seriously going to try to get my arms around a $5 million debt exclusion for the roads.
Actually getting roads.
Yes.
That is exciting.
And the one other thing, the first part of that question is people should realize just how much the chairman of the Board of Selectmen does. I think a lot of people think the chairman comes off as passive, and not the current chairman, but the chairman of the past. They have no idea what that individual does on a part-time basis and how much he does for this town. And they will never know because the chairman is never that type of an individual.
Right.
But he does a lot, and he is a stand-up guy.
Wow, you're tooting Franny's horn. Good for you.
Well, thank you so much. We are out of time, sadly. I would like to thank
know,
you
that
both
was-
so much for coming on the program. Folks, that'll do it for us tonight. Have a great week. Good night, Millbury.